Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope everybody got some rest and enjoyed their time with their friends and family.
Yes, Happy New Year.
And like we were talking about before we recorded, it's just kind of hard to get back into the grind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've
been looking forward to this, though. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. But there's something to be said about if it's difficult to get back to the grind, then why is it such a grind? But yes, I've been wanting to do a podcast like this for a very long time.
Really?
And Mike, is there anything special about this podcast?
Oh, yeah. It is our 100th episode.
100th episode, ladies and gentlemen. We've done 100 of these.
Yeah.
100.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it, actually.
Yeah.
Hang on. I didn't have this queued up, but...
Definitely called for.
It's not loud enough.
That's pretty good.
There you go.
There we go.
100 episodes. And to our subscribers and to our Pinterest, or what is it, not Pinterest, Patreon subscribers, you will get a free gift of nothing boxed in a nothing box. It should be at your house.
Well, I mean, the gift is getting to listen to our wonderful thoughts about Kang, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So today we're talking about Kang the Conqueror, which is supposed to talk about Kang the Conqueror, and our goal is to help listeners understand who Kang is from the comics perspective and how he might be incorporated into the MCU. Because I think most of our fans and listeners are big MCU fans, but maybe not as big comic fans. So hopefully I can educate. And I actually started doing some research a couple of days ago, and it is absolutely overwhelming. There are a ton of comics on Kang. Just tons. Like I can't even fathom how much people have written about him. And what I've read and watched and looked at all for the last couple of days is just a small sampling size. So I will miss some things. And if I do, you can feel free to find me on social media, wherever that is, and correct me or help me understand stuff. But I think I got most of the ideas here. But there's still a ton that I'm going to either skip or miss.
Why are we talking about Kang though? Why would we be doing a whole episode about one comic book character that maybe nobody's heard of?
Another great question. He would be the star villain of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. He would be the star villain of it. But
we've seen him before. We've seen him in the last episode of the Loki series.
Yes. So what's the actor's name, Mike? I keep forgetting his name.
I am blanking on his name right now, but he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, well, I want to say Jonathan Frakes, but that's the guy from Star Trek.
Jonathan Masters?
Yes, I think that's it. Let me confirm.
Majors.
What a cool name. There's no way that's his real name. Absolutely no way. He's got a lot going on, not just with the Marvel stuff, but he's in Creed 3. He just did a movie. He just did another movie called Devotion. That was a big one. He was a star in Loki. He's gonna be Ant-Man and the Wasp. He's gonna be in looks like a Western called The Harder They Fall. He was in a Western. Oh, I heard about that. The Harder They Fall. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Was that the Netflix Western?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Keep meaning to watch that. I was introduced to Jonathan Majors. That's his name, right?
Lovecraft Country.
Yes, in Lovecraft Country. He was, I guess you could call him the main character.
Yeah.
In that, and he was fantastic.
I like it. I think he's a great actor. I think he's
super charismatic actor.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how he pulls out Kang. Just that one trailer where he's actually talking to Ant-Man is pretty creepy. So I'm pretty excited about him doing it. All right. Are you ready for me to try to pull this off?
Yeah, tell us about Kang.
I'm not going to do this very well. Before I talk about Kang, I need to address a couple of things. So first, Mike, in the MCU, is there such a thing as time travel in the MCU?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
What?
No.
Haven't we seen time travel? Wasn't that part of the Endgame and in Loki?
No, it's not time travel. They're jumping from multiverses.
Okay.
Okay, so let me try to explain. Okay, in the TVA, what was their goal? What was their goal?
The TVA's goal, which may have been a lie. I don't know, was to protect the sacred timeline.
Yes, and if there were divergent timelines, it actually caused to create multiverses, right? Different universes, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
what
yeah.
so what the TVA were doing was traveling to these different divergent timelines, trying to fix them and snip them, right? So
Right.
in
Prune them.
yeah, so in the TVA, there I would allow you to be confused if it looks like they were traveling through time, but in actuality, they were traveling through the multiverse, different points in the multiverse. So there never could be a moment where they could change time. You can't change the timeline. You can't go
But
back.
didn't Sylvie? Uh,
Sylvie killed He Who Remains, and she created the branching timelines that we have
didn't
now.
she hang out in a spot that was like the reason they couldn't find her was because there was something going on,
She
and so she couldn't be found there.
she hung out in areas, and we're getting way off subject. But that's fine. She hung out in parts of the time of the timeline where a disaster might occur, and
Right.
yeah,
But not at the time that the disaster would occur. She just hung out in that area.
right before the disaster occurred. So that kind of
That's
hit
time
her.
travel.
No, I know. And here, this is the problem. This is going to make a lot of people very confused very fast.
Yeah.
MCU established that they don't time travel in Avengers Endgame. They established that because time travel is technically, if you're like a physics theorist or a scientific theorist, it's not possible. Like you can't travel back in time. It's not a possible thing to do. So they kind of nipped that in the bud and said, okay, we're going to a different timeline. And so in the end game, they traveled to a different timeline to get the Infinity Stones from different timelines, right? Different. And even to use the word timeline is a problem. So I'm going to use multiverses. They travel to different multiverses. And technically, that's what Loki was doing too. That's what get a lot of people confused. But in comics, time travel is a thing. People do it all the time, and it's super easy to do. It's not difficult to travel through time in Marvel Comics. People do it all the time. So kind of think about that as we move forward.
But in the MCU and Endgame, they said that we can't do that.
Exactly. And, and again, that's going to be kind of confusing. Okay, so let's get started. The first appearance of Kang in the Marvel Comics was Avengers number 8, 1964. That is wrong. That is incorrect. The first appearance of Kang.
Why are you telling us that? If
because
it's incorrect?
most people think that was the first appearance of Kang, but in fact, this is a weird thing happened in 1963. There was a Fantastic Four comic where a guy named Rabba Toot was from the future. He traveled to the past in Egypt and became a pharaoh. His name was Rama Tut. Okay, and he ruled Egypt for a long period of time. The Fantastic Four, because he probably time traveled, because it's easy to do that, fought him, and he left. He just decided not to time travel anymore. Marvel Comics took that idea of Ramatut and then used it to combine him with another character who was Kang. It was 1964. So actually, first appearance of Kang was Avengers number 8, 1964. But chronologically, his first appearance was Fantastic Four number 19. So it's kind of confusing. But Ramatut originally was not Kang, but now when you look at the storyline, Ramatut was Kang. So
Gotcha.
It's kind of confusing. So one day in the 31st century, the 30th century, a long time ago, in an alternate universe, okay, a guy named Nathaniel Richards was born. Nathaniel Richards was super smart. He lived in a society that was perfect. There was nothing wrong. And he was really bored. He just was bored. And again, that's not a really good reason to time travel, but that's what he did. And eventually he found a time machine. I don't know how you find a time machine. Like, I guess he stumbled upon it and, a time machine. And he traveled to Egypt. And he ruled Egypt for a long period of time as Ramatut.
Okay.
And as Ramatut, he kind of just, he's a pharaoh. He hung out. He fought the Fantastic Four for a while. He had a chance encounter with Doctor Doom for some weird reason. I'm not really sure why. And also, Nathaniel Richards, I keep forgetting you don't know this stuff. Do you know Mr. Fantastic's first and last name?
Reed Richards.
Yeah. So Nathaniel Richards, Reed Richards. Do you see any similarities?
They have the same last name. Are they related?
this has never been confirmed by anyone, but yes, the idea is that Reed Richards is Kang's great 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 grandfather. That's the idea.
Okay.
And it's a big deal because we have not seen the Fantastic Four yet, except for in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in MCU. We haven't seen them. But this is another instance where we have someone who has connections to Fantastic Four. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. Probably nothing. We'll have to wait to see. Probably something. I don't know.
Well, I'm surprised that there weren't any, or were there any like hints dropped about Ramatut in the Moon Knight series?
None. But this is really good. I'm glad you brought that up. There is a comic that was done in like 2 years ago, 2019, where Moon Knight battles Kang. It's pretty awesome. So I kind of want to read that. But there is a comic where and there's different versions of Moon Knight through the timeline. So so if you like Moon Knight, there's a time traveling Moon Knight storyline where he deals with Kang. I kind of want to buy it. I kind of want to read it. Pretty excited.
I'm wondering if we'll see Moon Knight at all in Quantumania,
no,
credit stinger or something
absolutely
like that.
Not. There's no way you're going to see.
Not an after credits.
No, you're not. No, you're not going to see Moon Knight. No, and
why?
I doubt that they won't even bring up. They won't even bring up Ramatut, Mike, because that's a time travel thing. The MCU is dealing with the multiverse, so be very careful. They're not going to bring him up. They're not going to say he ruled Egypt. That's not a thing that's going to happen. Now, I have said things like that in the past. I have said absolutely not to things that end up being true. So I'm going to say probably not. I doubt they're going to do that. But now, here's an interesting comic book fact. Can you name another famous comic book Egyptian in the Marvel Universe?
No, not at all.
Does the name Insabe Nur mean anything to you?
It does not, as a matter of fact.
Okay, Mike. So when you play Marvel Snap and you see someone discard a card, but then he comes back stronger, what card is that? Come on, you can do it. Dig deep.
Deadpool does that,
and also another card does it.
I don't think I have that card. Whatever card you're talking about. Apocalypse.
Yes.
I don't play that card. I might have it. Okay.
Well, I can't.
How does Apocalypse relate to Kang?
Side note: I cannot wait to play you PvP Marvel Snap.
Yeah, you're gonna destroy me.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad. Insabe Nur is considered the first mutant ever. He was the first being on Earth to actually have mutant powers.
Say his name again?
Insabe Nur or Apocalypse.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, Insabe Nur Apocalypse was around during Ramatut's, aka Kang's time period when he was ruling it. And apparently Kang, or aka Ramatut, had him killed or sent away. I'm not sure which one. But yeah, he ordered his death. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And there is some storylines where Apocalypse does have some more dealings with Kang. But that's an X-Men connection. So again, Kang has his fingers in all kinds of stuff. So when you're reading and trying to understand Kang, you gotta understand there's a lot going on. And he is probably
Kang might be another way for them to introduce the X-Men to MCU.
I seriously doubt it, but it could. There's other ways they could do it. Anyway, all right. So at some point, Kang's like, "Hey, I don't want to be Pharaoh anymore." The Avengers may be mad, and he had some dealings with the Avengers. And so he decided to change his identity, and he changed his identity to the Scarlet Centurion. This is a small thing. We might hear about this in either Loki or the Ant-Man movie coming up, but he does have another not secret identity, but another kind of like identity called the Secret Centurion. It didn't last long. He was only that for a short period of time. But then eventually, after he met Dr. Doom again, he decided that he wanted to change his whole setup, and he created a super battle suit or battle armor. He created the mask that he wears, and that's where you get the distinctive purple face, blue face, and that's where you get the Kang that we know and love now. With the
what are those lines on his face?
That's just the lines on in the mask that you see in the comics is just a mask. Now, in the Ant-Man movie, it looks like it's part of his face. So they might have
Yeah, it
changed some
does.
things. It looks like little scars. But that's just a mask. It's not his real face. Is just a normal dude.
Okay, so those were probably like stitches on his mask in the
No,
comics.
yeah. Well, you gotta look at some pictures. It kind of looks. It's just like a little artistic design.
Right.
It's just like the best whenever you're dealing with comic book characters, they need to have a distinctive look.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what you can easily see. You can see Kang a million miles away and tell who he is. All right. Oh, real quick, Kang has no powers at all. No
What?
superpowers. Kang has no superpowers. None. He's just really smart. All his abilities come from his technology, his suit and stuff like that. But he has no. He has
So
no
he's like
superpowers.
Batman.
Batman times 1,000. Yeah, I mean
Right.
the battle suit that he has, he can snap his fingers and generate a weapon, a huge gun. He can manipulate time in the suit, so the suit itself can travel through time by itself. So it's extremely high technology. So kind of thing. I don't know how much of that we will see,
But not in the
movie.
MCU, according to you.
In the MCU, I'm not sure how much they're going to do. I'm not sure how much they're going to say that his technology is a big deal or not. Like, from the trailer we've seen some pretty fantastic stuff. But I'm going to leave that for our discussion at the end of this because I'm curious to see how much the MCU actually does with all that. Okay. So Kang is Kang, and he decides to do a couple cool things. The first thing that Kang does as Kang is conquers the planet Earth. He conquers the entire Earth. He conquers the entire galaxy. But now this is in the future. So the modern times, Kang's not around. But in the future, let's say 100 years from now, Kang's going to show up and conquer everything and become like the king of all of it. But the Avengers kind of beat him up, kicked his butt pretty good, and so did the Fantastic Four, and he never really got over that. And so he kept trying to go back to modern day and try to conquer the Avengers over and over and do different things. Now, Mike, when you time travel, what is a scenario that sometimes happens?
Paradoxes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What's a paradox?
A paradox is when you go back in time and you do something you weren't supposed to, and it like causes ripple effects.
Mm-hmm. Most times, these ripple effects the paradoxes causes something called what I like to call divergent beams.
Like if you met yourself
exactly
back in time, that would be a paradox.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, if you're in the year 2100, right? You travel to 1999. Now there's two of you. There's one in 2100 and there's one in 1999. Now, the one that exists in 1999 might at some point travel back in time to 2099, right? And all of a sudden he meets you again or something like that. And so we create these time divergence where you have multiple cells bouncing through the timelines. And you do that enough over and over again, you're going to have a lot of different versions of yourself. That's one of the biggest problems from a comic book standpoint with Kang. He has many, many, many versions of himself. So many, in fact, that when you start researching it, they'll say stuff like Divergent Kang or Prime Kang, and it's hard to keep up. So kind of keep that in mind that there's a lot of different Kangs. They've actually talked about this in the MCU in Loki at the end, right?
Yeah. He talked about how there's a bunch of different versions of himself.
Mm-hmm. And now in the MCU, in the Loki version, he kills themselves all off, and there's just one of him and then one timeline. But now there's going to be multiple ones because of what Sylvie did, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's when Sylvie plunged her knife into Kang, or He Who Remains. He said, "I'll see you soon." Gave her a wink.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. All right. So what happens in the comics is we have multiple different versions of Kang, and one thing that's occurred is I think it's called the Congress of Kang, or the Kang Congress, or the Council of Kang. It's a bunch of different. It's a picture of Kangs where there's like 100 different Kangs, and they like all hanging out being Kangs, right? So one of the things that Kang tried to do in the comics is kill all his previous forms off, and we'll get to that in a second. So Mike, we talked about this during Loki. Do you remember a character named Ravonna Renslayer?
Yeah.
Yeah, who is she?
She was Judge Renslayer in the Loki series. She was the woman that was working with Mobius at the TVA.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and
She's kind of high up in the TVA.
Yeah, in the comics, Kang tried to get Renslayer to become his lover. She rejected him for obvious reasons. He's an authoritative dictator type deal. But at some point, someone tries to kill Kang. She jumps in front of the laser bullet and dies, and sacrifices her life for Kang. And Kang puts her in suspended animation. So I want you to kind of remember that. She's in suspended animation for a while. Boom.
Right. What was she in the comics?
In the comics, she's just kind of like a superhero kind of woman that Kang loved, like a super queen, kind of. I'm totally butchering that.
Okay.
Thank you for asking the hard questions.
Because she wasn't in the TVA wasn't in the comics at all, right? That's a MCU thing.
No, the TVA are in the comics.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
TVA definitely in the comics. And
but she wasn't in the TVA in the comics.
No, not at all. No. But we'll go talk about that in a second too, because there's a lot going on. All right.
Okay.
So, the reason why I bring up Renslayer is that for some reason, and I never knew this, she actually gets superpowers at some point, or she gets out of stasis, and she is called, what's her name? Hang on, let me find it real quick. Titan? Terminexia. Okay. Terminatrix. Her name's, oh God.
Terminatrix. That's a bad name.
It's terrible. This was the 90s, brother. This was the 90s. Okay. So the Terminatrix is Ravonna. Okay, Ravonna Renslayer, but she's out of animation. She actually takes over Kang's whole empire when he's critically wounded. So she and I don't know why I didn't catch this when we actually did Loki. I don't know why, but yeah, she becomes a big deal. She actually has this is technology, and she runs things. She actually uses Aelith. How you pronounce it?
Aelith. Yeah.
Aelith. She actually uses him to destroy the Cross-Time Kang Corps. I'm not sure what that is.
Aelith is the big we know who fog creature at the end of Loki.
Yeah, we've seen that. Yeah, and so in the comics, it's the same kind of fog creature type look, and he was used to destroy a couple of different time versions and stuff like that.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
At the end of Loki, Judge Renslayer leaves through a portal. She tells Mobius, or Morbius, is it Mobius? It's Mobius. She tells him that she is leaving to go find free will.
Yeah.
Does she show up in Quantumania?
I want to say, based off of the budget and all this other stuff that the movie's dealing with, it's a high maybe. I'm not sure how Disney and Marvel is going to deal with this, because you have to be able to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania without having to see Loki. You have to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah.
But if you do see Loki, then you're super excited because you saw it and you know who Kang is, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how much Quantumania explains all the stuff that they explained in Loki. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see the last 5 minutes of that last Loki episode where we see He Who Remains explain the multiversal war.
They almost need to start doing the previously seen stuff in their movies.
Yeah, because there's a lot. Because I don't want to get too much into this, but there's a lot because Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, they go into a quantum realm, which is subatomic, right? But we know that traveling through subatomic realms is a way to travel the multiverse. So I'm not sure why Kang is even there, and I'm very curious. I'm curious about everything they're going to do there. I think that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is going to rewrite some rules for us. So it's a wait to see. I wouldn't be surprised that after that movie is out or over, things are different than we thought they were about the entire MCU.
Right.
Anyway, all right, we know Kang is a guy who likes to time travel, and he likes to conquer. So he conquers time. He conquers the time. So what Kang wants to do ultimately is conquer all of time. He wants to conquer the past, the present, and the future. He wants to be the king of it all. And of course, there's other Kangs battling for supremacy because he has divergent selves. And so a lot of that stuff is him trying to fight for supremacy. But there's other things going on too, Mike. There's a guy called Immortus. We've talked about him before. Who is Immortus?
Don't know.
Oh my!
Who's Immortus?
Immortus is the older version of Kang.
Okay.
I talked about him at length doing Loki.
What do you mean older version of him?
Well, okay, so think about Kang. You got Kang in your head, right?
Yep.
Okay, he's about in the MCU says he's about 70 years old. He looks because of technology and the future and stuff like that. He looks to be about 40. So physically he looks 40. His actual age is 70. You got me so far?
Gotcha.
Now, he's going to age, correct?
Yep.
So think about the older version of him. At some point, he changes his persona and he changes how he perceives the world and he becomes Immortus.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Immortus travels into the past to fight Kang as well. So he actually fights himself in the past quite a lot. And in the comics, Immortus is working with the timekeepers to change certain things about the timeline. And I'll get to that in a second. But my point is, Kang is traveling the timeline, trying to change time, trying to become conqueror time. And he has another version of himself, many versions of himself trying to do the same thing. And then you got Immortus traveling through the timeline, trying to fix different things that Kang is doing.
So and you said in the comics he wanted to conquer all time. He wanted to control the past, the present, the future.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He did that in Loki.
In Loki,
he actually achieved that.
In Loki, he conquered the multiverse, yes.
As the head of the TVA, he achieved being in control of all time, basically.
Correct.
Yeah. In the comics, was he trying to do it? Because in Loki, he says he's a villain, basically. But he also says he was doing villainous things for a good reason.
Well,
in the comics, was he trying to get control of all time for a good reason?
In Loki, Kang, well, He Who Remains, because He Who Remains is just a different version of Kang.
I figured out his name. I figured out why he's called He Who Remains.
Wow.
So in the comics, He Who Remains is actually a different character, right?
Correct.
Okay. In Loki, the reason Kang is called He Who Remains is he's the last remaining Kang.
Correct. Sort of.
So that's why he's called He Who Remains.
Yeah, you kind of nailed that. Yeah.
And Miss Minutes is the one who gave him that name.
Yeah, but she's not in the comics, so let's not get that. Let's not get too crazy. In Loki, He Who Remains is actually doing something that I think is a good idea, right? Which is like, hey, there only needs to be one timeline, and there only needs to be one version of me, because if there's multi-versions of me, we're all going to war. Like,
yeah, I'm a bad guy, so you don't want...
The entire universe almost was destroyed, like all of multiverse. So he conquered it all, killed them all off, and then there's only one. Now, it takes away free will because, of course, he's he's pruning the branches. There's supposed to be a multiverse. And now, let's not get twisted. At the end of Loki, we see the branching of the tree. We see the branching of multiverses. And right after Loki, what movie came out?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man No Way Home, which dealt with a multiverse. So the MCU knows what it's doing. It introduced the multiverse, and then it started playing with the multiverse.
And then we had the Multiverse of Madness.
Exactly. So this is definitely a multiverse saga. So when you look at Quantumania, it's going to be established that there's a multiverse, and that Kang is a different version of He Who Remains.
If Sylvie hadn't stabbed He Who Remains, Kang, then Wanda wouldn't have been able to go to all of those multiverses looking for her kids.
There wouldn't have been any versions of her kids. Yeah, there wouldn't be different versions. Correct. So anyway, there's a problem, Mike, in the comics. There's a problem.
What?
At some point, the Avengers become so powerful that they go to space to try to have justice in space. They have spaceships.
Now, didn't they call themselves the Cosmic Avengers at this point?
No. Oh. I don't know where you got that from.
I thought I remembered you telling me that.
Where'd you read that from? That was terrible.
I thought I remembered you telling me that.
No. Anyway, so they're out in space.
All right.
But at some point, the Avengers, they're too powerful, and they start doing things that are questionable at first, but then just outright wrong. So, for example, they enslave populations. They take over alien worlds. They have war with different alien nations and kill them off. And so, like, you have, so in 200 years from now, you have a group of people that call themselves the Avengers that actually are using that name, but they are not good guys. The Timekeepers, this is in the comics, the Timekeepers recognize that the Avengers are bad, then they're doing bad things. And so they get a
Is
guy.
Ant-Man one of these Avengers at the time?
In the comic Avengers Forever, the Ant-Man technology is used, and the Ant-Man technology is used to create these really small people, small enough to fly through people like bullets and kill them off. So the Timekeepers task Immortus, which is an older version of Kang, to change the timeline so the Avengers never leave Earth and that humanity never go to space. So for a long time, Immortus' only job is to make sure that the Avengers never leave Earth and that humanity never ever goes to space. And that's the basis of Avengers Forever, which is a big Kang storyline. And if you read the comic, it actually works for a while. There's a couple of different things in the comics you gotta have to be aware of, and this is kind of interesting. In the comics, there was an android built in the 1920s or 30s, and it was a comic called The Human Torch. The Human Torch was basically a robot that could turn to flame and fly around. That character was kind of taken or used in the Fantastic Four as Johnny Storm, but in the comics, they did some kind of strange. They took that android body and time cloned it, and then made another android called the Vision. And so in the comics, the Vision in the comics is actually the same kind of mechanical archetype, android archetype as the Human Torch archetype is in the comics, which is like completely confusing to everybody involved. And in the comics,
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't think Vision's going to show up in Quantumania.
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. Who knows?
I'm just going to say it. I don't think he shows up.
But recognizing the comics that
would be too weird.
But in the comics, the Vision has connections to Kang. There are so many connections to Kang in the comics. It's not even close to being funny. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
In the comics, all
right, White Vision confirmed. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they've already confirmed there's going to be a White Vision series, so that's already been confirmed. We know that.
Well, I meant like in Quantumania.
Yeah, maybe. In the comics, the reason why the Vision and Scarlet Witch become lovers and get married is because Immortus wanted that to happen so the Scarlet Witch would never get too powerful because she's she has a personal relationship. And
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah, that's messed up.
I'll even blow your brain even more. Thor's hammer, the Mjolnir.
Mjolnir.
Yeah, Mjolnir has time travel abilities in the comics. Thor can travel through time using Mjolnir, or he could until Mortis took that ability away from Mjolnir. He actually stole the time traveling power out of the hammer, so Thor could not travel through time. And etc., etc., etc. So in the comics, you had Kang trying to conquer all of time, and you have Mortis trying to stop the humans from going out of space. So there's a lot of different cool things like that. Do I think that Mortis is going to show up in the multiverse saga? Yeah, 100%. We're going to see multiverse. We're going to see multiple versions of Kang, He Who Remains, and Mortis. They're going to have a lot of fun with this because it's just too rich. I'm not even done.
Do you think we're going to see multiple versions of Kang in Quantumania, or somewhere between Quantumania and the end of the saga?
Yes.
Which?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if you saw multiple versions of Kang in Quantumania. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we got more
but
stuff.
You don't think we're going to see Ramatut?
I don't know. I don't know what they want to do. But Kang is such a fun character. He has so many cool things that they could do a lot. But I'm not even done, Mike. At a certain point, so we have Kang, right? He's in the 30th. What year was he born? What century was he born?
30th century, you said.
Very good. What would happen, Mike, if...
That's, 9 centuries from now?
What would happen if a young version of Kang realized somehow, someone told him, or he learns that he becomes a villain when he grows up? Would you try to change yourself to not be a villain if you know that at some point you're going to be a villain?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that happens in the comics. A young version of Kang, he's like 15 years old, travels to present day joins the Young Avengers and turns himself into Iron Lad. He has a suit like Iron Man, and he fights crime and injustice as Iron Lad, a young version of Kang.
Okay. Okay.
And we've already seen in MCU, we've seen lots of Young Avengers rolling around. Bishop, Kate Bishop? Is it Kate Bishop?
Yeah, Kate Bishop.
Yeah, Kate Bishop.
You're so funny.
We've seen the guy from Falcon Winter Soldier, the Super Soldier's son or grandson, whatever.
So Ironheart.
We've seen Ironheart. We've seen Ironheart. We've seen Scar. We've seen a lot of young, different versions of the Avengers.
But
Will we
Scar?
see? Huh?
Who's Scar?
Scar.
Oh,
yeah,
Hulk's son.
Yeah.
Hulk's son. Okay.
Will we see Iron Lad? I don't know. I have no idea, but he's definitely a thing. I don't know. It's sad though because at one point in Iron Lad's adventures, Kang went to the present to find his younger self, and the timeline actually started to disintegrate because Kang has to become Kang. You can't just not have a Kang, and so because the young version of himself refused to become Kang, the timeline started disintegrating, and he actually had to go to the future and become himself, which is sad.
No, that is sad.
Yeah.
That's what Doctor Strange was talking about in What If. Doctor Strange in the What If episode, that's what he was talking about. He's like, there's some things that have to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Sadly, right?
Yeah.
And so, to wrap this up, and listeners, I apologize. There's so much to get to when it comes to Kang that I can't get to all of it, but I can get to some of it. There's a couple cool comics that I'll send a link. There's a couple cool comics out there about Kang. There's a storyline where Kang goes back to Egypt and he somehow finds like Apocalypse's twins. I'm not sure how that works. That's a really interesting storyline. There's another storyline where he has him and his son. Kang has a son named Marcus, and Marcus changes his name to the Scarlet Centurion. That's kind of interesting. I hadn't got to the storyline where Kang and Doctor Doom try to steal the Infinity Gauntlet from Adam Warlock's evil twin, which is a whole different story.
What?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of there's a lot going on, right?
Okay, I didn't know that Adam Warlock had a twin.
Yeah, it's a long story. It's not technically a twin. You won't ever see that version. Maybe you will.
It's not going to be in the MCU.
I doubt it. I doubt it. But what I want listeners to take away is Kang is always going to be reinventing himself. There's going to be multiple versions of Kang constantly, from Ramatut to Scarlet Centurion to Kang himself to Immortus to Iron Lad. There's always going to be a different version of Kang constantly and consistently. And so hopefully in the MCU, you're going to see that. I don't know. It's kind of complicated. It's a hard thing to kind of explain to a bunch of listeners about all this. And to a bunch of people watching the movies. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to get through. But I mean, I didn't even get to the part where in Avengers Forever, the Timekeepers tried to turn Kang into Immortus, but then Kang rips himself apart and destroys Immortus. But then Immortus forms from the damaged vestiges from his broken self, and there's two versions of Kang sitting there next to each other that are completely different, that are not connected at all.
Okay.
Anyway,
that's pretty messed up.
There's a couple other things I want people to understand. There is a place in the comics where Kang and Mortis like to go called Limbo. Do you know what Limbo is, Mike?
Oh man, Limbo is one of the areas in Marvel Snap.
Yes, it is, but it's also religiously what is Limbo? Do you know?
Well, like the concept of Limbo is it's a place between places.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really its own place. It's
yeah. And in the comics, it's a temporal limbo that is timeless, where time does not exist, and so you can go there and time travel as much as you want.
Nice.
And that's where Kang kind of hangs out, and he has a city called Chronopolis. I think Chronopolis will be in Quantumania. I think that's the place.
You think that is the you think that's the place in the trailer?
Yeah, I just kind of feel like Chronopolis is too cool looking. It's just too much going on not to have that in the show.
So here's the weird thing. At the beginning of this episode, you said that we weren't going to have any time travel in the MCU, and now you're saying you think they're going to have Chronopolis as the
Well,
city in the MCU?
they're probably going to call it Chronopolis, but again, Marvel's kind of put themselves in a weird box where they said time travel doesn't exist, but they have a time travel comic book character. So they're going to have to figure some stuff out. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Time travel,
Maybe they just didn't know it existed.
Time travel is harder to pull off from a storytelling element than multiverses. They have the multiverse saga kind of locked down, and it makes sense. They have their rules. They have multiple movies, and a whole TV show exploring it. I wouldn't see them messing with time travel right now. It's just an added element that's just too messy. I don't see them doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe you're right, because it would get very messy if they added that in at this point.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and plus, time travel
as simple as multiverses can be.
Yeah, and time travel is old news. Let's get some multiverse stuff going. It'd be fun, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that is as much as I can get through about Kang as possible. I'm looking forward for Quantumania. I'm looking forward to Jonathan Majors' performance, especially. I'm also very curious to see what he wants, because in the comic, in the trailer for Quantumania, it looks like Kang is asking something of Ant-Man or wants something from him. And I'm not sure what, but I kind of feel like Kang.
You think he's stuck in the quantum realm and can't get out?
Yeah. I think he's stuck, and so my theory is, hey, I will help you if you help me get out of here. But letting Kang out of it could be a prison. He could be the Quantumania could be a prison for him. Like somebody put and if you look at
could be, yeah.
Hey, I got a crazy thing. I got this crazy idea. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
He Who Remains said that he killed off all the Kangs. What if the Kang we see is actually hiding out in there? And now that the multiverse is reestablished, he wants out. He wants to get out. And then but if he gets out, he's going to conquer all of the multiverses. That's what Kangs do.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And I don't know how they're going to stop him. I don't know.
What's the name of the original Wasp?
Jane Van Dyne.
Okay. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer's character, yeah.
Yeah. Jane Van Dyne. In the trailer, she is very concerned about them communicating with the quantum realm and says, hey, there was something I did not tell you about when I was in there. And do you think that was Kang, or is it something worse than Kang?
I think it's definitely Kang. Here's my theory. This is just a complete theory.
Okay.
Kang is trapped in the quantum realm. Kang's been trapped for a while. When Jane Van Dyne was down there all those years, she definitely had time to understand that. Kang probably rules all of the quantum realm. And so when she got out, she's like, yes, I'm free. But now that she's back down in there, she's like, oh no, now we're stuck. And Kang, and if Kang's stuck, but then he finds out that there's people down there that aren't from the quantum realm, he's going out. So that's my theory. But here's the biggest problem with all this stuff. Like there's like scientific logistical issues. First of all, you can't breathe in the quantum realm because oxygen molecules are too big.
Yeah. Maybe you don't need to breathe once your lungs are quantum sized.
I have read that at some point we're all just information. It doesn't matter. Like you're not breathing right now anyway. You just you're just a bunch of information.
If I was going the speed of light, I'd just be pure energy.
Yeah, or just pure information, like pure data. I don't know. That's it. Yeah. That's all I got.
That's what you got.
That's Kang. Do you have any questions, Mike? Comic book focused questions. Specifically.
Well, my questions are going to be like, what do you think the Kang that we see in Quantumania is going to be like?
He's going to be
out of all of these characters you told us the most. Who are we going to see in the movie?
We're going to see evil, manipulative, deadly, scary Kang. Like we're going to be very afraid of this guy when we see him. Like everybody's going to be like, I don't like this.
Not the jovial Kang that we saw in Loki.
No. Hey, you should expect people not to come back. like you should, like when you watch this movie, you should like how many people go down there? 5. Not all of them are going to come back up. Right, just go ahead and expect that.
I get the feeling that like Kang is trying to be friendly to Scott in the trailer.
No way.
I wonder how long that lasts.
Well, there is a piece of dialogue from a trailer that was only shown at Comic-Con where Ant-Man says, "Hey man, I'm an Avenger," and then Kang says, "Oh really? Have I killed you before?" So it's like, yeah. Okay. So it's like, no, it's going to be a deadly Kang, a deadly scary Kang.
Gotcha.
I can't wait. Okay. Comes out February 28th for some reason. I think that could be a different time. I don't know.
It's not the 17th, February 17th?
I don't know. February 17th. That's when it comes out. Enjoy it. Get some popcorn. I'm excited. February's a great month for me.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, because my birthday's in February. Quantumania comes out in February. Destiny 2 update comes out in February. Lots of time for me to sit on the couch. Anyway.
You should just take the whole month off.
I should. Before we finish up, I want to give a shout out to Carlo Patricio. He passed away, and he was the artist for Avengers Forever. He was a great artist, and like if you really want to see some good work, he did some great pieces of Kang and the Avengers and the JLA, just the Justice League. And I'm kind of torn up that he passed away, but definitely there's a link in the show notes, so if you want to click and see some of his work, you can. It's great. And I talked about this before. You definitely, if you really want to know more about Kang, just buy the Avengers Forever. It's a great series. It's worth your time.
A good suggestion.
Yeah. All right, Mike, are you ready for some news you can abuse?
I'm always ready for news you can abuse.
This news is there's a couple of dark, this news has been rough. Jeremy Renner apparently had some kind of accident with a snowblower or something. I don't know, but it's
not a snowblower. He has apparently this huge snow cat is what the brand name. It's like a big snowplow. Like way bigger than Homer Simpson's snowplow.
That Homer Simpsons reference means nothing to me because I don't watch The Simpsons. But apparently he's hurt or got hurt, but he's going to be okay. But it
looks like he's going to pull through. Thankfully,
but we're not going to see any more Hawkeyes. We're not going to see more Hawkeyes from Jeremy Renner. So not because of that, but because his contract is up and he doesn't want to do it anymore. So, but still, hopefully you feel better, Jeremy. My lord.
Yeah.
Other news: Dave Bautista is relieved to be done with playing as Silly Drax. Looks forward to more dramatic work. Dave Bautista, you and I both. Like, I'm sick of you playing a Silly Drax too, brother. And I'm looking forward to this nightmare ending. I can't wait.
This is that weird thing for me again, where I don't get it. Like, where is the direction for Drax being silly coming from? Because Dave Bautista has a great relationship with James Gunn. They love each other, apparently. But Dave Bautista's like in the press talking about how he wishes that Drax weren't so silly. When isn't it James Gunn that's writing this? Like, what did James Gunn get direction from somebody at Marvel that like Drax couldn't be the Drax from the it's so weird.
There's a couple things going on. First of all, we talked about this before. The success of Guardians of the Galaxy hinged on it being kind of poppy and funny.
Right.
So there's nothing you can do. Plus, if you look at the show itself, you already have like a kind of a moody, grumpy person who stabs stuff. Gamora. You don't need two of them. You don't need two moody, stabby people. In the comics, you need as much moody, stabby people as you can get. We love them. But in the show, it's just you can't have Drax being moody and sad and wants to stab stuff and then have Gamora being the same way. So that's just, and plus, Drax's sense of humor, the thing that makes Drax funny, they kind of kept amping it up because it works. But the end result is like, Drax is silly. And that's just how it is. And I don't blame Dave Bautista for not wanting to do Drax anymore. I wouldn't want to do him either. They never did him right.
The thing that made him funny was the fact that he had no sense of humor.
Yeah, but that's funny, right?
Right, yeah, it is funny. It is
funny. In the comics, Drax, first of all, there's two versions of Drax. The first version is kind of like simple and kind of half brain dead. But then the newer version is like an awesome warrior who doesn't say anything. He just chops your head off. And so from Marvel's perspective, they had to rewrite Drax in order for him to fit into the movie. But I don't blame Dave Bautista never wanting to play him again. I don't want Dave Bautista to ever play him again. Like, I'm just fine with that.
What does Drax ultimately do in the comics?
He kills Thanos. That's his goal. That's his one job.
Maybe, I mean, like, maybe that's it. Is like he, knew that that's what happens in the comics and was hoping he'd have a bigger part to play in.
He should have.
In that.
I agree with you, Dave Bautista. But whatever. Nobody talked to me. Nobody called me when they were writing the script for Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. No one wanted to know what I had to say.
Dave Bautista was in Glass Onion. He was pretty good in that.
Oh, my wife and I need to watch that. We might watch it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Okay. This is big. This has nothing to do with the MCU, but Marvel Snap, a really fun Marvel mobile game, is about to have battle mode. Which lets
when's that going to happen?
At the end of the month, sometime at the end of January, we're going to be able to have a code that you can join friends and battle them, and that is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but we are definitely going to do this live somewhere where people can see us do it, and I'm going to make you very upset with just how. And I read some about this, so
I might have to rebuild my deck for this.
How many decks do you have?
I've got a bunch.
I have 11. How many do you have?
I don't have that many.
Okay, you need to have at least 11 decks. Maybe
why
12.
Why is 11 the magic number?
Because I don't know. You just need to have multiple decks for multiple situations. What I like to do is I play a deck until I lose, and then I switch to a new deck. And I'll just sit there on the toilet and do it for hours. And my wife's like, "Why are you in the bathroom so long?" I was like, "I'm playing Marvel Snap, and I'm very comfortable. I don't feel like getting up. It's terrible." And I'm not embarrassed saying that because everybody does that. Everybody's on the toilet playing Marvel Snap. It's fine. Right. But real quick, this form of Marvel Snap is funny because like you have 10 matches and you have a health bar. And if you snap and you lose 4 bars off your health. And
no.
But if you lose 2, you only lose 2 bars. And so it's like So if you win, you get more health. And so it doesn't affect your ranking or anything like that.
So we're gonna battle each other until one of us is down to 0?
Yeah,
that's how it works.
10 matches, until someone's dead. Yeah.
Oh man.
But fortunately for you, Mike, it'll be fast. It'll happen so quickly.
It'd be like 2 matches. Yeah.
3 at the most. Just
3 matches.
Yeah, it's fun. But yes, it's gonna be. I got a couple friends who play Marvel Snap, so I'm super excited about.
I'm looking forward to be able to form groups in there.
Me too.
We should have a super sideshow group.
Yeah, we should have some kind of event where we have people that's trading codes and play with each other. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Mark Ruffalo is on Mastodon. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, at Mark Ruffalo at Mastodon.
I'm going to follow him right now. I will say this right now. Ever since I went to Mastodon and I'm not officially off Twitter, I still have my account. I have not wanted to go on Twitter first. And then second, I've barely been on social media. Something about Mastodon allows me to get on there, do what I want to do, and then leave. But Twitter has this weird thing where you just want to be on there all the time. But me being on Mastodon has kind of cooked that off. So
Mastodon doesn't try to get its hooks into you as much as Twitter did.
It's amazing. Like I went to Twitter for the first time in 2 weeks a couple of days ago, and I didn't miss it at all. And I was like I don't know what happened, but like it's just sort of like methadone
treatment.
Yeah, it's like methadone treatment. Yeah, it's still a drug, but it's not as bad as the other
Mastodon treatment for Twitter addicts.
That's funny. That's
good.
But yeah, I'm following Mark Ruffalo right now. And hey, people, if you're not on Mastodon, consider getting on it. I think it's a great platform. I have a lot of fun on it. And it's not nearly like Twitter at all. So yeah,
we're not doom scrolling on Mastodon.
No, you really aren't. It's not even designed to doom scroll. It's like doesn't work that way. It's like you can't doom scroll it. It's weird.
Right.
But anyway, there you go.
What are we doing next?
Well, in the show notes, you say that we're going to rank phases 1 through 4. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, ranking phases 1 through 4 of the MCU. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this.
We're gonna do a tier list, right? That'll make it a little bit easier.
We're going to do a tier list. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do it.
It's gonna be like the mother of all tier lists.
I'm thinking about it, but we'll talk more about that at a certain point. It's gonna be
yeah.
All right, Mike. Let's say that it's the new year and you have a New Year's resolution to listen to more podcasts, and you listen to our podcast, and you're like, "Wow, this podcast is great. I want to share it and send it to my friends." How could people do that?
I think that listening to more podcasts is a very, very common New Year's resolution.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think reading is most people say I need to read more, right?
Yeah, it is. This is 2023, man. Now it's listening to more podcasts.
Well, notice how our society is getting worse. So maybe we should try to read more.
So help your friends out with their New Year's resolution. Hit the share button right now. Send this podcast to them. It's something they need to start listening to.
Yeah, send it to your friends. Send it to your family. We've got a lot going on. We've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania coming up. Other movies.
Looking forward to that. So looking forward to that.
Other movies that I have no idea. What else is on this?
We've got our tier list that we're going to do.
Yeah. What else on the?
It's going to be awesome.
What's on the MCU schedule this year? Anything?
After Quantumania, they've been changing the schedule up so much. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which everybody's super hyped for, except for Jarvis, apparently.
I'm super hyped. There's going to be the new the new Marvels comes out this year. Super excited about that. I am.
Yeah.
So we got a lot, guys, and of course we're probably going to start watching some different different movies, different stuff, look at different things. So we got a lot going on. So share it with your friends and family. Share it with your family and let them know that this is a great podcast that's worth the time. We've done 100 of these. So if you listen to this and you like it, you have 99 other episodes to listen to.